In our final project, I'm going to show you how I use 3 different photographs for one composition. The main scene will come from one photo, I'm going to use the grouping of people from another, and I'm going to use the figure by the waterside and some of the palm trees from the third. Now I've already started some of the drawing and I'm just going to add in my final figure from one of the photographs, one of the ladies just bending over, and she's going to create a lovely splash of colour. Basically that's enough drawing. What I want to do here is not have so much drawing so that the paint will be much more fluid and much freer. This time I won't wait for areas to dry. I'm just going to go straight in and start to block in bits of colour here, there and everywhere. A little bit of a hit and miss if I just have a little pale blue for the sky, and then just immediately go straight into some of the softer greens that are going to be in the background, because I want the whole thing to merge in and be very soft and fluid. The shapes are soft, even the buildings seem to have these soft edges because usually they're just mud huts and they've got sort of raffia or straw on the roof, so everything is very soft edge, and because of that I want to keep the whole thing very fluid. I think at this point I'll change brush and move on down while that's coming along and just put in some of the lighter shapes where the palm tree greens are going to come in. Then we'll continue down with a slightly stronger colour. It's going to be a nice washing line here with lots of different shapes waving about, keeping the whole thing very loose and sketchy again while I plan as I go. My first group of people are going to be around here, and then we'll have more greens as we get to the water's edge. Remember again, the looser, faster you move, the less it's likely to copy what's in the photograph. It's a lovely sort of dark green coming in here now, which will pick up the edge of some of my little bits of washing. Then just a slightly darker tone of dark greeny brown next to where the water's edge will be. That's just to let it run along there, and that's also going to show me just where the water level will be. Let's just use that flat brush again for putting in some of the reflective colours from the bank. I'll leave in quite a lot of detail out because I can come back and paint this in, but I just want to drop in some of the reflective colours like that. Keep the whole thing. The scene is set very quickly. That's what I'm after, is just to get a varied impression of the scene, and then I can work into that. Right, that's basically what I want. Back to the round brush, and if I can move into some of the half dry, that's still fairly damp, so if I move into some of this now while it's still damp, I can bring some lighter foliage, sort of exotic palms, etc. And in fact this is very handy because it will just tighten up some of the shaping here. So I'll use some of the soft edge there just to blend into what's there already. One of the other darks that I want to get in early on is the dark openings of the windows. That light might look very strong at the moment, but I'll come back and soften that off later. Now let's get a really nice green for some of the palms. They're quite yellow and bright in this front part, so I'm going to use that for opportunity and bring some of these lovely shapes right in. Maybe darken the building later to make this stand out more. You see, in actual reality, these shapes that I'm painting in are not actually in my photograph, but the general idea is beginning to come together. Now, some of the gaps I've left, I could go back with my original pink wash that I had for the building and just bring that in, for instance, into these tree trunks here, because they're very red against the green. And we can have, actually, put some green just down the side there, but we can have a little bit more fun now with the washing line and hint some people in soon. Let's just do the people first. That's very tempting. And this is such a typical scene of the Kerala in India. You're going along this lovely, tranquil, very green area, and you suddenly get a splash of bright cerise pink from the sari of a lady washing her clothes by the river. I'm going to put that real strong colour in. I'll dilute it slightly on her back, and I'm going to take that right through into the water. And equally, there's some lovely sharp blues in the washing line. Let's just take that across there. And we'll have some of that too, just reflecting in the water. The opportunity there is too great to miss by leaving that fairly white. So I'll just bring a little bit of shadow into that to take it across the doorway. There's a funny old shape here that we'll just take this across. That's it. Right, we'll leave the rest of that for now, and in the middle photograph there's a lovely little grouping of figures just by the tree trunk here, so I'm going to actually put this in next. Just use it to give me the general sort of plan of where my little people are. Wherever you go in India, you've always got these lovely, delightful little children rushing over to see what you're doing. This lovely rich burnt sienna is just ideal for the skin colour, so I'll use that over here as well. And this one has got a bright red top on, so I'm going to use a touch of vermilion because she's going to have a lovely piece of white cloth coming over her shoulder. Yep, that's it. Let's take that down into there. Opportunity arises to give that a lovely swish through the water. Let's have a pair of red socks over here. I'm sure some Indians must wear socks. There we are. Little dash of red elsewhere just to pull it together. Right, as this is beginning to come together, I just want to get rid of the little shapes and strange gaps that I've missed out. I've got a space here that I can't quite understand why I left. I've probably just got to soften that down a little bit more. That's better, because if we take that colour of orange into the water, that'll make that even more golden. And I do want to bring in some lovely purpley shadows into this now. In fact, before I go into the shadow, I'll use the purple just to tidy up that little corner. It looks a bit drastic, but all I want is to use that just to tidy up that corner of the roof. We may use that just for showing up the texture of some of the roof. So as I go deeper into this is what I want now. I really want to pull that right across. I'm not trying to explain every shape that I make. Some of it I just want to disappear into shadow, you know, and leave something for the imagination. So in fact, my little group here are rather nicely positioned against a slightly more shadowy part of the building. Again, where there's lots of gaps around, I'm just going to use that pink again to fill them in, because I can always pull some whites together again at the end with a little bit of cheating. And I just like to bring some more palm fronds in various places, just coming in from here, there and everywhere. Looking quite junglified now, if there is such a word. And this area I definitely want to push back with a bit more purple right over in the corner, because this is a great opportunity here just to pick out some of these light shapes and take that through into the water as well. I'll just bring a little bit of green over here as well, I think. I'll lose that edge slightly. And finally, let's just bring in some really stronger dark greens, which makes it all the darker. You could continue with various layers like this, but just to give you the idea of how the whole thing is going to pull together. Now my little lady, I think she's about ready for a bit of hair. And a little child over there. There's a child here. Lovely dark hair. If that's not too wet, I could maybe just suggest that there's some steps here. If there's anywhere, for example here, where I think, oh, I wish I'd retained a little bit of white paper, then what I use is a little bit of Tipp-Ex and just, there we are, reintroduce some white in there. Not to be overdone. That seems to stand out on top of paint better than if you try to do it with Chinese white. And it's just a hint here and there. The idea is to keep it refreshing and free. It's got a little bit of this photo in it, a little bit of the other. And again, it's up to you. If you prefer to make it more detailed, then you can, but the whole idea has given you that choice. So to recap on our last project, remember to take the elements from 3 different photographs, taking note of where the light's coming in on each of them so that they all tally up with each other. Then minimise the drawing to retain the looseness in the painting. Then remember to paint each area without waiting for the other, and that will continue with the fluidity of the whole subject. And finally, keep glancing at all 3 photographs to maintain your inspiration. That way you'll avoid copying any single photograph. So I've shown you various ways to use photographs for planning your paintings, using them creatively, using them for inspiration and reference, but never to copy from. So now it's up to you to go and have a go, and more than anything, have fun.
Now available on DVD. Try these techniques yourself at home whenever you wish. The extended version of today's workshop is now available to order on DVD from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.